Hi friends, welcome to RHCSA certification training series. My name is Ram. We are in section 3 of this training series, total divided into 10 sections. This is session 12. Subscribe to the channel to stay connected and get the comprehensive training for RHCSA certification from the channel. Session 12, standard command line in Linux. As I was talking about section 3 is basically for fundamental command line skills. We have done session 11, that was Linux shells. This is standard commands this session, and session 13 will be management of text files. Then session 14 will be local online documentation. Then session 15 networking primer. Session 16 network configuration and troubleshooting. Agenda of the session is standard command line tools, files and directory concepts, the tilde symbol, directory paths, files and directories, cd, ls command, file creation, touch command, cp, mp, hard link and soft link with ln, rm command, directory creation and deletion, alias command, wildcards, and find and locate commands. So, the standard command line tools in Linux. The most efficient way to administer Linux is from the command line interface or the CLI. Although excellent GUI tools are available, the look and feel of those tools varies widely by distribution, like CentOS, Ubuntu, Fedora, and other distributions. If you know the standard command line tools, you'll be able to find your way around every Linux distribution. In a batch session, you can go through the history of previous commands using up arrow key, down arrow keys, and Control R to make a search from the history. You can use the tab key as a wildcard to complete a command, a file name, or a variable. Control R, up arrow, down arrow, command line completion, history. Let me demonstrate these things. So this is our Linux workings, RHEL 8. If I type history, I'll get all my commands which I issued earlier. For example, I use a command to check, to locate the file names.txt. So I can search that. In order to execute the same command, I can simply type exclamation mark and the number. This will execute the same command. If I use up arrow key, I'll go back to my commands and I can use to scroll through the commands which I used earlier. I can use Control R to search for, let's say, search mlocate. So you will get the commands. So this way you can search, Control R to search, and the other commands, right? History gives you that. So that's how you work with the history command. Everything in Linux can be reduced to a file. The concept of files and directories in Linux. Directories are also special type of files only that serve as containers for other files. Some of the important concepts to understand are PWD, which gives you present working directory, the tilde symbol that represents the home directory of the user who is logged in, and the path concept. These are important concepts. When command is typed, its search is based on environment variable path. Once these concepts are understood, you can navigate between directories and files. CD command. Let's understand with examples. So I am working on this system on RHEL 8. PWD will tell me where I am working right now, in which directory I am working. Like if I go to desktops with cd command and I type pwd, it will tell me you are working in /root/desktop. If I use the cd command to switch to etc yum.repos.d and I type pwd command, will tell me you are working under etc yum.repos.d. I can type cd tilde symbol. It will take me to my home directory, which is my home directory, pwd, which is root directory as a root user. So that's how you use pwd to check where you are working. Cd command to switch to the directory, tilde symbol which represent the home directory. Now whenever you type a command, for example echo command, you are typing echo command, from where the command is coming. If you type echo, let's say hello, from where this echo command is coming, that is interesting. You can use switch command. It will tell you the echo command is coming from user bin echo. So essentially you should type /user/bin/echo, and then you should type the message. That's how it should work. So if you are working, if your command is, let's say, any command, whatever you type, ls. So from where this ls command is coming, which ls will give you the path? User bin ls. So essentially you should type user bin ls and then -l. That's how it should work. But you never type the complete path. How is that? You don't need to type the entire path of the file. It is because of the special variable called path. What is the value of the variable? You can use echo $path, that will give the value. So what is this? This is a colon separated list of directories. This is first, user local bin, this is second, user local s bin, user bin, user s bin, root bin. So whenever you type any command, Linux goes to each of these directories and execute the command first found. So therefore when you type ls command, it goes to this directory user bin ls, as the command is found there, so it will execute the command from this directory. Path helps you with this. That's how it works. So that's how the path concept works. You can define path at various locations. You can check what is the current path, and that's the concept of path. Helps you in searching. If you have a binary file in the current directory, like for example in the root directory, it will not work. It will not execute from here, because this is a rule that Linux will not execute the file until and unless it is available in any of the given search path specified by the path variable. So once the concept is understood, you can navigate between directories using cd command. We have tried that. The tilde symbol can be used to represent the home directory of any currently logged in user. That's what I demonstrated. For example, you have logged in as Yao and you type cd tilde symbol, the command will navigate to /home/Yao. If you are logged in as a root user, this command will navigate to /root user, which I have shown. You can list the content of your home directory from anywhere using ls tilde symbol. The tilde represent your home directory. There are two path concepts in Linux. I'm talking about directory paths. One is absolute path, one is a relative path. You can understand it from a perspective of a tree, actual tree, and you just invert it. Absolute path describes the complete directory structure in terms of the top level directory called root, and the root term is coming from the same concept, from the tree. If you invert a tree, and on the top what you'll see is the root. So under root you have the stem, and under that you have the branches and sub branches and sub branches. So if you are at root, you can reach to any of the branch by using the complete path. From here to here to here to here, you can reach to any location. So this concept of root comes from the directory tree or the root. The relative path is based on where you are currently standing, in which directory you are relative to that. Relative path do not include the slash in front. Slash basically represent the root, the slash I am talking about. So you don't need to specify. Why? Because you want to switch to the directory relative to the current directory rather than going from the root. When you are running a command, absolute paths are essentials. Now this is the concept which I was referring to. I drawn a tree, and this is to understand the same concept. So this is, suppose this is your root tree directory. Under that you have another directory. Under that we have another directory. Under directory we have these directories. And you can have ordinary files. Ordinary files you can have directories. Directory can have further subdirectories and files. This we can have another ordinary file, and we can have a directory as well. Now if you are sitting here and you want to go to this directory, let's say there's a directory here. If you want to reach to this directory, so you can specify directory slash directory, means this directory slash directory. So that will be a relative. You don't have to specify slash. But sitting here and you want to specify the path to this file, so you probably have to start from root. So root, then this directory, and then this ordinary file. So wherever you are working, the root or starting from root directory or the absolute path is always possible and always correct way. However, sometimes you don't need to go back, start the entire path from root, and it make more sense if you specify the path from the current directory itself. Environment paths, strictly speaking, when running a command, you should cite the full path of that command. Like for example, I demonstrated this. The ls command is in user bin. So user should usually type user bin ls. With the benefit of the path, this not required. Because the shell will search through all the directories listed in path variable for any command typed as a CLI. Like for example, if you search this echo $path, you will see this kind of path. If I logged in as root as a normal user, non-privileged user, you will find the path to your home directory as well, a bin directory in your home directory. But you are logged in as a root user, this also signify I am giving this command as a normal user or root user. I am using $, that means I am executing the command as a unprivileged user. If I am executing command with hash prompt or pound symbol, I am executing the command as super user or administrator. And this was the path I showed to you. The directories in the path for regular users and root user are slightly different. For example, the passwd command is available from user bin. The path is determined by settings in etc profile or by the scripts in profile.d directory. I repeat, this etc profile and etc profile.d, these are system wide settings, means they are applicable for all users who are logged in. The path for individual user can be customized with the appropriate entry in user's home directory in the hidden files named as .bash profile or .profile. They are also make sense. They are for the specific users. So if you want to specify search path as a normal user, as an unprivileged user, you can specify your own path by specifying that in this directory .bash profile. The cd command, I demonstrated this command to change directories. The cd command with absolute path of the desired directory. If you use relative path, just remember the destination depends on the present working directory, because that you have to type with respect to current working directory. Remember that with respect to current directory. By default, cd navigates to your home directory, means cd tilde symbol or simple cd does not there is no difference between the two. You can simply cd or you can type cd tilde symbol, they will take you to the home directory. Two consecutive dots, they represent your parent directory. For example, if you use cd/temp, it will take you to temp directory. Then cd tilde symbol, it will take you to your home directory. The file list and the ls command. Right kind of ls can tell you everything about a file, such as last modification time, last access time, and the size. Like ls-a to reveal hidden files, that's files that start with dot. ls-l long listing, ls-t listed sorted in modification time, -i to inode number, -r reverse the order, -r list the content all of directories recursively, -z is very interesting for security enhanced Linux. Let's look at some of the examples with ls command. So let's me go to this slash directory, in fact slash etc directory, just to give a relevant example. I type ls command, that will show me directories /etc yum.repos.d. ls command, you will see the directories. Cd will take you to your home directory. ls command will show you the files and directories of your current directory. Now the magic starts. ls-l will show you the long list. ls-lt order will change. I miss hyphen. So ls-lt will show the files in ascending order of the time, Feb 17, and you see that. Similarly, ls-ltr in reverse order. You see the file errors comes in the last. Similarly, I will show the inode number of the file. This is the inode number of the file. Similarly, if you say -r, it will show you the recursive files, the files within directories and subdirectories as well. It will show all the files and subdirectories. So this way you continue walking and you see the options. -a will show the hidden files as well, the file that start with dot. ls-lz will show you the security enhanced Linux context, also SE Linux context. So these are interesting options with the ls command. The simplest way to create new file is with the touch command. The touch command is also used to change the time of the last modification of a file. For example, you type touch abc ls-l touch etc/wd. Let me demonstrate with example the touch command. So I am typing touch file, within curly braces I type a comma b comma c and another file, curly braces, 1 ab comma ac comma bc. This is another set of files, and I also touch file abc. So what will happen? ls-l, what all files are created? File a, file b, file abc, file ac, file e, file b, file bc, file c. All files are created. ls-l/etc/passwd. What is the date and time of the file modification time? Take note of it, 11/28 Feb 17. If I use the touch command to touch this file, what will happen? It will change the access time. Now you see the time is changed. It will not change the content, it will just change the timestamp. So touch command is used to change the timestamp of file or create new files. Basically it creates 0 byte size files when you touch command. Why would you do that? What is the use case of touch command? Touch command is very handy in the scripting. Suppose you have a scenario where you want to execute a script and you feel that script is going to take time, and you have now you have to go to home now. Now what you will do is you will keep your system on, you will start the script, but you want to know when the script execution finished. So how would you do that? Within the script, execution of the script, you can create a you can use touch command to touch a file and then go home. When you come back, you will see at what time that file was created. So that timestamp will tell you at what time the script execution finished. So touch command is very handy in such situations when touching the file or just changing the timestamp of the files. The cp command, copy command, allows you to take the content of one file and place a copy of the same or different name. Place a copy with the same or different name in the directory of your choice. Multiple file sources can be copied into a single destination directory. cp command with a -a switch supports recursive changes and preserve all file attributes such as permissions, ownership, and timestamp. For example, if you cp -a/home/sangwan and then dot means all the directories from the sang1 directory slash mnt slash backup. It will preserve all the permissions and privileges and still copy them into mnt backup. And mv command, to move the files, you can move the directories as well. Let's look at both the commands cp and m. So let me create a directory in mnt folder, or for the backup purpose, let's say mkdir slash backup. I create a directory backup. In fact, let me create a directory for user sang1 -m -p will create the path slash backup slash sang1. Now I copy cp-a slash home slash sang1, and I copy all the files from the directory to slash backup slash sang1. So what will happen? Let's go to the directory and check slash backup slash sang1 ls-al. You will see all the directories or the files which were there in the sang1 directory. They were copied and their permissions and ownership is preserved. What would have happened had you copied the file without -a switch? Let me show you. I remove this directory rm-rf slash backup slash sang1 and I create the directory again. Okay, and I copy the file again with cp, but this time without using -a switch. So what will happen? See the list of files now. Go to the directory, use ls-l. Now this time it has not copied, because cp-a will copy only the directories, and if the directory is empty, because it's special files, you have to either specify -r or you have to specify -a. Let me specify -r to copy the files recursively. And let's look at the files again. This time I did not use -a switch. Without -a, it has copied the file, but the ownership is changed. It has changed the ownership to the user who is actually copying the files. Earlier when I copied with -a, it preserved the ownership. Now I copied with user R, and without -a, it did not preserve the ownership. That's the difference between -a and without using -a. Similarly, let's look at the mv command also. mv slash home slash sang1, and I can copy. There are some directories here. We have some files also here. So let me copy some file from here in my root directory cd, and from here, what all files? I want to copy this file ab, or let me take example. Let me copy the directory test to the sang1 directory. So mv test I want to copy it to slash home slash sang1. So this will move the entire directory to slash sang1 directory. You can verify ls-l slash home slash sang1. You see the directory is copied, but it has not preserved. The directory is copied, the file is copied with the ownership of the root user. So sang1 user will not be able to use this directory. That's how it works. So mv can also be used to copy the files, like mv, and I copy the file, let's say file b, to slash home slash user sang1, and I can check that file b is available in user directory. So mv can be used to copy directories, or move directories or files to different locations or in the same directories as well. If I copy mv file, let's say file a to file b, so the file is renamed. So mv can be used to rename files as well. That's the mv command. Creating hard links and soft link with ln command. Linked files allow user to refer to some files using different names. Hard links are directory entries that point to the same inode number. Means when you create a hard link, it will point to the same inode number. They must be created with the same file system. That means hard link cannot be created across file systems. You could delete a hard link file in one directory and it will still exist in the other directory. So by default, let's create the hard link and let's try this hard link example. So ln, if you don't specify any option, by default it will create the hard link /etc/samba /smb.conf, and I'm creating a hard link here smb.conf. Now ls-l, if you see, the smb.conf file is available here. This is called hard link. smb.conf is created, link is created. To verify the inode number of the two, you can use -i and take note of this inode number. Now if I use this ls-li /etc/samba/smb.conf, you will see the inode number is same, 9227652. The meaning is if you delete one entry, the file will still exist because you are just giving another name to smb.conf, because same entry will still exist, right? Because they have the same inode number. So it's just another name to the same entry in file allocation table which points to the same inode number, which has the same inode number. So the file will still exist if you remove this. That's the concept of hard link. However, if I delete rm and if I delete this, I can still exist the I can still access the content of this directory with the link ls-al. The ls-a is not required because we don't want that. So I can still access the content. smb file is there, cat smb, though I deleted the original file. So contents are still accessible, and that means I can simply move this file smb.conf mv smb to /etc/samba, and that means now I have restored my original file at the original location. That was actually the hard link because they were actually the same thing. What will happen if you create a soft link? So let's create a soft link. So ln-s, this time I use soft link. What will happen? The magic you will see now. This is called a soft link. In this case, samba.conf is pointing to this file. We call it as a pointer, and inode number will be different. I'll show you the inode number. Samba file inode number we are aware, and we'll see the inode number of this also. Look at the inode number of this Samba, 9227652, and what about this? This is a different inode number. The meaning is, if you remove the original file, what will happen? Remove this file, and I'm doing it because I know what am I doing, so I'm pretty sure. If I use ls-i, what will happen? This pointer becomes a dangling pointer. This means the original source original target file is deleted, and you have a pointer which is pointing to a file which really does not exist, and this is called dangling pointer. Basically, the soft link create a dangling pointer with a different inode number. The hard link create the pointer with the same inode number, and in that case you just have copy of the same content available with two different names. In order to remove the content completely, you need to remove all the hard links to that file. That's precisely what happened. In our case, in soft link, that doesn't work that way. In soft link, if you remove the original file and you have a pointer, the pointer will no more work. Why? Because that is pointing to the file which does not exist, becomes a dangling pointer. So we copied the file. A soft link serve as a pointer, a redirect or shortcut to a file. If you delete the original file, the file is lost. Although the soft link is still there, it has nowhere to go. Such pointers are called dangling pointer. As I explained that, the rm command At Linux CLI, there is no trash bin. That's a big warning. There is nothing called trash bin. So if you remove the file with rm command, it is almost impossible to recover that file. For example, to remove all the files from temp folder, you can use rm-rf. -r for recursive, -f for force, and that essentially means you are removing everything from temp folder without any question, and there's no way you will get back those files again. No way. I did a blunder here. In one of my production system, I just put a space accidentally. My command became rm-rf, and then it became slash and then temp. Just imagine what happened. It treated this directory as a separate directory, and root means the entire directory structure of my Linux system. When you do this, there's no way you'll get back, and you guessed it right, it removed my entire Linux system. It took me 20 days to restore the content of that from the backups. It was a huge system with many websites running on the system. So because there's no way you will get back the files if you delete with rm-rf. mkdir and rmdir, these commands are used to create and delete directories, like make directory. I demonstrated this. Make directory /test, mkdir-p. If you use, it will create the directory along with the complete path. Otherwise, if you don't use -p, to create the directory test3, test2 must exist, and test1 also must exist. Only then you will be able to create. If you use -p, if test1 does not exist, it will create it. If test2 does not exist inside test1, it will create it, and then it will create test3 inside that. That's a good option. So rmdir delete a directory only if it is empty. If you are cleaning up after a previous mkdir command, you can use -p switch, same way, like -p. But problem with rmdir, we don't use it. It's not frequently used command. Reason being, it requires the directory to be empty. It requires that directory must be empty. Therefore, we prefer using rm-rf. Alias command is another name to simplify a few commands. For example, alias cp-i, alias grep-color is equal to auto, alias l dot. Let's see what aliases we have, and let's how we specify the aliases and take examples of alias. So first, do we have any alias defined? You can simply type alias to see the aliases what you have, and these are the aliases which I have. These are the existing aliases. What is the meaning? If you type l dot, this will show you, this will actually execute this command. This command is display the directories only that start with dot. So display all the files and directories, but that start with dot. So l dot. You see everything that starts with dot. I can see that. Nothing else. Nothing other than that. ls-ll if you type, that actually execute ls-l color is auto. So if you use ll, this will actually execute this. So same way, if you try other commands, whatever command, if you type rm, actually it execute rm-i. Similarly, if you want to define your own alias, you can define, let's say dir, and you want to execute dir equals single quote, let's say ls-ltr color is equal to auto. So if you specify this, what will happen? If you type dir, it will execute the dir command like ls-l with ltr with color is auto. Right? That's the alias concept. Wildcard. Sometime you may not know the exact name of the file or exact search term. That's where the wildcard is handy. Let me explain with examples. See, if I type ls-l file star, that means, oh, I missed hyphen, sorry. ls-l file star. All the files that start with file followed by star means any character, any number of characters, it will display that. So I can see file AB, file ABC, file AC, file B, file BC, this, that. If I type question mark, it will display a single character wildcard. So file followed by any single character. So we have file B and file C. However, if I type two question mark, it will display file followed by any two characters. So single character wildcard is question mark, multiple character wildcard is question mark, star, and if you use within square bracket, let's say B and C, or C or B, that means you want either C or B. So file B or file C. We call it as a character class. So any character within square bracket can be used, and to negate that you can use caret symbol. Oh, it doesn't work that way. So that has to be BC. Let me see that, because that's used in wildcard. Oh, it doesn't work that way. Good. So file BC will work. So any single character from that. If you see ABC, any character either A or B or C from the character class you define. So that's how this single character wildcard character class or multiple wildcard characters star works. The find command. Find command search through the directories and subdirectories for a desired file. For example, if you want to find a directory with a named.conf, you can type find /name named.conf. If you know that file is located in the /user, you could start with the directory search path /user named name.conf. That's a simple find command. RHEL also allows you to search a database, to create a kind of search engine to quickly search the file. But then problem is that it will not include the newly created files or directories on its own. You need to set up the database, and you can set up the database with updatedb command. Once you use the set up the database with updatedb, you can use locate command to locate any files. You don't require the full name, you can search any partial name also. Let's take a look. Now first is find command. Find starting from /name, and I want to search names.txt print them. So it will search the names.txt file and it will print that. This is how find works. Find has a very good feature that it can execute a command after this. So if I want to back up this, or I want to delete this, or I want to move this file, I can use that. So that is the best part of find command. So let's execute that command. -exec execute rm-i. But then you need to also specify the placeholder with curly braces, followed by space, important, and semicolon. What will happen? This will execute remove command on names.txt if it is found anywhere, and that's what it is working. Look at this. It can find the files, it can execute a command on those files which are found, and I'm removing the file. Similarly, locate smb.conf, and it will search that. Updatedb will update the database of the files in our system. So that's how locate and update works. If the database is not available, you will get the error message from locate. So this is a find and locate command. That's all for this session. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.